Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Apologies for keeping you all waiting. So yesterday we did 33, 31 and 31 and 32. We'll just go through that one more time. Before we go on to the new verse 33. So Krishna then concludes this section by saying, Evam bahuvidha yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam jnatva vimokshasi. In this manner, many and varied yajnas, religious disciplines, are very elaborately mentioned in the words of the Veda. Understand them all to be born of karma and therefore anatma. Knowing thus, you will be liberated. I think we did this twice over, no? Yesterday also we did this. So let me just go through the important points. 1 second. Can Atma be a doer? And then when the doer is negated, action and its results are also negated. Liberation from bondage through knowledge. Knowledge that I am not the doer does not imply indifference. Nirvyapara doesn't mean, here it defines as udasina. But anyway, so do you want me to repeat this one? If so, we'll go through this one more time before we go to the next verse. Just give me a minute. So here Krishna sums up this section on the various religious disciplines, all of which are karma. In karma, he had said, the wise person sees only a karma. Then he talked about rituals and other forms of yajna in order to present the knowledge that Atma, the self, is akarta, a non-doer. He also mentioned these disciplines. Remember the bag, a jewel is presented. The value of the jewel is kind of enhanced when it's presented as a background. So this is the background. The background is all the karma, the rituals that are presented in different ways. One is as a yajna, the other one is as yoga, pranayama, tapo yajna, jnana yajna, and swadhyaya yajna. And then pranayama, the different three types of pranayamas, puraka, rechaka, and kumbhaka. Yeah, so he also mentioned these disciplines because they are useful in the form of disciplines themselves, in addition to bringing about antakarana shuddhi. At the same time, what is ultimately to be gained through all of them is the knowledge of Atma as Akarta, as Brahman. The word Brahma in the present verse refers to the Veda, in whose pages or words the various types of religious practices already discussed are very elaborately detailed. Now, Krishna says, understand all these religious disciplines to be born of karma. Tan sarvan karmajan vidhi. Whether they are physical actions, kayika karmas, oral, vachika karmas, or mental, manasa karmas, they are all born of a certain activity on the part of the doer, karta. For this reason, they are called karmajas. Born of this threefold karma, they are anitya and therefore are only anatma. Can Atma be a doer? And who is the doer, the karta here? The disciplines are karmajas, born of karma, not atmajas, that is, not born of atma. This means they are born out of the instruments, karanas alone, born of the antakarana, the mind, the vagindriya, the organ of speech, and the karmendriyas, the organs of action. They are either born purely of the mind or of the mind with the help of the senses and organs of action. Therefore, the karta can only be the body mind sense complex, the karya karana sanghata. This verse is a very interesting one. It has confused a lot of people, as we see by some of the interpretations, English translations, and commentaries that have been written on it. So here, actually, there's a needed to what we need to understand is that we don't read any and every commentary on the Gita. We need to follow according to what Gurudev said, the Sampradaya. So there may be some who have just randomly given English commentaries. So lots of the people from the West have studied the Gita and have just given their commentary. But do we follow that it's a question mark, because not that we are denouncing them, but it depends on their background, where they have learned it. Is it just that they have just picked up the book? Have they gone through the Guru Shishya Parampara in the sense? Have they learned it from another teacher who is well versed? And how should the teacher be? Which kind of a guru you go to? A Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta. Not any guru, right? So Shrotriya is who? One who is well versed in the scriptures, in the Vedas, and Brahmanishta. So therefore we have lots of people giving their views and commentaries and all that. So we take it, not that you're disrespecting them, but you stay with that guru, that is, or those gurus that are Shrotriya and Brahmanishta, that lineage. So therefore, having said, and now with the social media boom, you have so much of information out there. So unless we are selective and discreetly in our and use discretion in the way we and what information we feed ourselves, otherwise we'll end up with a lot of confusion. So, having said that the religious disciplines are presented in the Veda and that they are all born of action, Krishna then says that knowing this, you will be liberated. How can this be? How can you be liberated? By understanding that these karmas are born of various activities performed by the physical limbs, organs of speech or mind. The point to be clearly understood here is that these disciplines are not born of Atma. One has to go back to the statement, Karmani akarmayah pashet. And remember that Krishna is summing up here. To make this point clear, Shankara glosses the word karmajan and says that understand that all of these are born of anatma. Tan sarvan anatmajan vidhi. The physical body, deha, is anatma, as are the mind and all the indriyas, the organs of perception and the organs of action, which include the organ of speech. This is why Shankara uses the word anatmajan. Karmajan, anatmajan, born anatma alone. They are all anatma because they are karmas, objects for you, the atma. The physical body is not the karta. It is only karma, itself being an object. The karma is an object for the subject, the Atma. Remember the primary knots, primary granthis. What are they? Avidya, kama, and karma. So we have these sprouting up from anatma. So all the karmas are anatmajas. And the subject, Atma, is not subject to objectification. Being a karma, the physical body is anatma. It is not Atma. It is an object, not the subject. The disciplines are born out of the physical body, the organ of speech and mind, all of which are objects, anatma for you, atma the subject. Therefore, karmajan means anatmajan. And Shankara makes it very clear that this fact is to be well understood. Once you understand that these disciplines are born out of anatma and not out of atma, you know that atma, the self, is akarta, free of any type of activity, nirvyapara, free from any action. We need only to see that the disciplines are born of anatma for it to become evident that they are not born of atma. All the karmas elaborately detailed in the pages of the Veda, some of which are mentioned here, are anatmajas, born of anatma alone. They are born out of karya karana sanghata, the body mind sense complex. And since they are anatmajas, we understand that Atma is not the karta. This vision is called karmani akarma darshanam, seeing a karma even when a karma is performed. When the doer is negated, action and its results are also negated. Then how so easy it is for us to practice karma yoga, right? So when you're doing it with that attitude of Sakshi Bhav, non-doership, although there is a slight trace of doership in karma yoga, but majorly if you can bring in this non-doership, then the results are also negated. Action and results are negated. So where are you getting caught up in the actions? Automatically there is that karma. So we have seen earlier in this chapter how even as one performs karma, the karta is negated, everything being Brahman. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam. This is the 24th verse in chapter 4. The other karakas, the object of action, the means of action, the purpose of action, from whence the action comes, and the location in which the action takes place, are all nullified along with the karta. Even though the karakas are seemingly there, their reality is nullified by negating the contention that they are divisions between them and Brahman. This negation is called sublation. Sublating the reality of division as such, seeing that there is no division whatsoever. Knowing Atma as Akarta, knowing the Karya Karana Sanghata to be the doer, knowing that the doer is Atma, but Atma is not the doer, one is liberated from all karma and karma phala, Ashubha. Ashubha means that which is not auspicious, that which is not good for you. Thus, as Shankara says in his commentary on this verse, you are liberated from inauspicious karma phala, which includes both punya and papa. Ashubhakyat karma phalat vimokshase. Liberation from bondage through knowledge. This liberation can also be expressed in terms of release from samsara. You are released from the bondage of samsara, which is due to ignorance about Atma being akarta. The moment you take Atma, the self, as karta, samsara is born and you become a samsari. Knowledge of Atma as akarta is the clear vision, samyak darshana, of Atma as it is. Knowing this, you will be freed from all karmas and karma phalas, which is what samsara is all about. Phala is what accounts for a given birth, janma, during which there is again karma, and therefore more karma phala accrued to you, which results in yet another birth. This cycle continues until you come out of its orbit by knowing that you are not the doer. As Shankara puts it in the last line of his commentary, you know that all the activities that you perform are not your activities. You know that you are nirvyapara, free from all activities, and that you perform no action whatsoever. Knowledge that I does not imply is. Knowing that you are nirvyapara does not mean that you are indifferent to everything or that you do not exert yourself, which is sometimes how the word nirvyapara is understood. That I am devoid of activities is a fact, whereas to not exert myself is a condition of laziness. That I am devoid of activities is a fact, whereas to not exert myself is a condition of laziness. Shankara defines nirvyapara as udasina, meaning here that Atma is always the sakshi, a witness who never gets involved in activity. It is like the sun, activity starts when the sun rises. The sun is not the doer there, but in his presence, everything happens. Like in Atmabodh, there is, I don't remember the exact verse, but Rajavat, Yatha Rajavat. Just like how when the sun rises, a lot of activity starts off. Flowers start blooming, birds start chirping. So it is not like the sun is doing it, but in his presence, everything happens. So similarly, he's just like the Sakshi. So here, meaning that Atma is always the Sakshi, a witness who never gets involved in activity. Thus, without me, no activity can take place. But at the same time, I am indifferent to all activities, meaning that I am independent of all activities. When you say I am indifferent, there is definitely a karta involved, an attitude of doership. But here, Atma is purely the Sakshi, the witness. It does not perform any action. When this is your vision of yourself, Atma, you will be mukta, free from the bondage of samsara. Samsara bandhanat vimokshase. Seeing doership in the self, Atmani Kartritva Darshana, is the only cause for bondage. There is no other. So it's a very simple reflection that we can do whenever we are caught up in the Arishad Vargas or we are miserable. We just have to look back and say, oh, I've brought in the Kartritva and therefore also the Bhoktritva. So when we just bring our attention to this and step aside and say, I'm only the Sakshi, I'm only the witness, then automatically that the results, the karma phala itself gets sublated. That is why Gurudev says you can either have misery or me. You can either have the guru or the misery. You can't have both. So a person who has the guru, that is the one who is centered, who is in the Sakshi Bhav, is not miserable. And one who is miserable is far away from the center, far away from being the witness. So if you see doership in the Atma, meaning that you take yourself to be a doer, then there will be samsara for you. And if you take yourself to be a non-doer, you are free, released from the bondage of samsara. This is the only difference there is between bondage and liberation, as this verse makes clear. In the next verse, Krishna goes on to praise the knowledge that is liberation. So, any sharing before we go on to the next verse? Evam bahuvidha yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam jnatva vimokshase. Actually, once we finish this, it's good for us to go through the verses because when we are chanting Bhagavad Gita, earlier just chanting without knowing the meanings is great. It's also wonderful. But knowing the meanings and chanting makes it even more an experiential thing. So Brahmanaha here is of the Vedas. Brahmana is not the ultimate Brahman. So again, based on the context, they have to be understood. And this only a guru can give us. A guru is a Shrotriya and Brahmanishta. Like see Shankaracharya, how he defines in certain shlokas, he defines Atma as the mind and not Atma as the self. Whereas a person who is not really astute, is not careful about this interpretation based on the concept, will just misinterpret the whole verse. So he may be doing it innocently, but unknowingly, there is a confusion that is being generated. So let's all share at least one sentence, one takeaway from this verse, and then we'll proceed to the next verse.
Jai Gurudev, whatever we perceive, whatever we see, they are all born out of Anatmaja. And that's why we have to, that Kartrutva Bhavana and Bhoktrutva Bhavana, um, when it is not there in the mind, and when we understand this, that they are all Anatmaja, that is my takeaway. All born out of ignorance for the self.
See, oh, correct, very nice. See, although we've not say known Atma as Atma, still we do just know it as a concept. But we experience that freedom from the bondage of the karma phala when we step back and become a sakshi. That should be enough. That should fuel our shraddha, isn't it? That is why it is said, um, to know Brahman, you start from iha, from the world itself. Whatever you're experiencing here in this world, using this, you can you can attain Brahman. So even in these small little instances where we go through life situations, when we apply this knowledge, you instantly feel that freedom from that pain and misery. Isn't it? All we have to do is just apply that knowledge. If you're caught up with something that someone said, like you're caught up with you being a football of others' opinion, all you have to do is just step back and say, hey, listen, who is this? Do a little bit of inquiry. Who is it? Who is it that is getting affected? What is that? Which layer of my existence is it? And then when you look at it with the background of this knowledge that we have, you really instantly get that freedom, that liberation. And you're not caught up in that. And you'll just smile at yourself. Oh, so long I was taken off for a ride. Be it accepting people, situations, be it football, any of those things, opposite values, caught up in some difficulty. And you say, oh, this is the end of the world. But then you step back and say, this is part of the world. That is how the world is. I'm not going to always have good things come my way. There will be not so good things. And it will always flip over. This is not going to be permanent. All this is fleeting. Change is inevitable. So with this knowledge, you see that instant the liberation that you feel. So that should be enough fuel for our shraddha in the words of the Shastra. Because there are certain, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, very true. Absolutely. When especially it is like moment to moment. When we are in knowledge, then it makes us at that time on instantly free. Otherwise, there are chances that you react or you respond, whatever it is, and that creates another chain of actions. And you rightly said that chanting Bhagavad Gita now with little meaning, understanding for the meaning has become very, very blissful. When we chant the shloka, although the knowledge is not that good for the beautiful language, but still now the things, when we chant, it it really is joyful. Yeah. Jai Gurudev.
So we'll move on to verse 33. So, evam bahuvida yajna vidata. Vidata is very elaborately mentioned. Brahmano mukhe, from the words of, in the words of Brahmanaha, that is of the Veda, in this manner. So, tan sarvan karmajan vidhi, evam jnatva vimokshase. You really become so rock solid, as in strong within. Nothing can shake you when you are with this knowledge. But when does it become, when do you start getting affected? When this knowledge is either not steady or is not there at all. That's why Gurudev says any mistake is done in ignorance, when you are not aware. But in awareness, you cannot make a mistake. You don't make a mistake. Shreyan dravyamaya yajna jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. Parantapa, O scorcher of force, Arjuna, dravyamayat yajnat, as compared to the religious disciplines performed with materials, Jnana Yajnaha, the discipline of knowledge, Shreyan is superior. Partha, O son of Pritha, that is Arjuna, Sarvam, all, Karma, action, Akhilam, in its entirety, Jnane, in knowledge, Parisamapyate, is resolved. Parantapa, Dravyamayat Yajnat, Jnana Yajnaha, Shreyan, Partha, Sarvam Karma Akhilam Jnane Parisamapyate. This discipline of knowledge, O scorcher of foes, is superior to religious disciplines performed with materials, O Partha. All action in its entirety is resolved in knowledge. In verse 24, the clear vision of Atma, Samyak Darshana, of the nature of the Atma was given the status of a yajna. That is, it was explained in the form of a yajna. This was done in order to present Atma as a non-doer by converting all the karakas, that is, factors related to the action such as karta, the doer, karma, the object of the transitive verb, karana, the instrument, etc. All the 6 different karakas were all converted into Brahman, which means that everything is Brahman. To unfold this knowledge, many kinds of yajnas were mentioned, each of which can help a seeker gain a purified mind so that the knowledge can take place. Because of their usefulness in gaining antahkarana shuddhi, these yajnas were pointed out. However, one must avoid being carried away by the disciplines themselves because they have a limited end. They can only prepare the mind for the knowledge. The ultimate end, moksha, can only be gained by knowledge, not by the performance of religious disciplines. Very important for us to understand. Because lots of people think it's only by doing Sudarshan Kriya that you can gain moksha. Gurudev himself said in one satsang, he says, none of the practices you're doing will get you liberated. So that was like a shocker. Everybody said, what is this? We thought Sudarshan Kriya is ultimate. But this is where it is. They have a place, not that they don't have a place. Absolutely, they have a place in preparing the mind. But in order to get to the ultimate end, you require knowledge. Disciplines are only a means, not an end. Therefore, the discipline itself is not an end. Any discipline is but a means for a given end, one of which is antahkarana shuddhi, purification of the mind. and another is antakarana naishchalya, steadiness of the mind. With such a mind, you will surely gain the samyak darshana, the clear vision of the nature of the self being totally free from action. This samyak darshana is praised in this verse by contrasting it with the various karmas mentioned previously. Clear vision means the clear knowledge of oneself. And how do you gain this clear vision? Not by any of these disciplines. Krishna points out here. The Samyak Darshana is something that has to be understood, for which there is also yajna to be done. Jnana yajna. This yajna is being praised here. Krishna addresses Arjuna as Parantapa in this verse, meaning one who scorches enemies. We have seen the word enemy can stand for one's kama, krodha afflictions, such as one's likes, dislikes, anger, and so on. Since Arjuna was a Kshatriya, a warrior, the word can also apply to enemies in the usual sense of the word as well. We are told here that Jnana Yajna is Shreyan, something superior, meaning that it is definitely the thing to be done. Wherever the word superior appears, the question always arises, superior to what? But there is no real comparison here. Instead, Krishna is pointing out that what Jnana Yajna is. Pointing out what Jnana Yajna is. It is superior, Shreyan, because it gives you moksha. Therefore, there is not the usual sense of better and best here. Here, the word Shreyan means the best. So, there is no comparative to something else. Because you cannot say this is better than doing karma yoga. Each is a means in itself. But for the ultimate end, this is the only way. Dravya yajna refers to a yajna that is performed using oblations, which implies the use of certain materials or objects. All rituals fall into this category because dravya yajnas can only give you limited results in the form of punya and a certain satisfaction. Jnana yajna is described as superior to them. For example, when you offer a prayer, there is an immediate satisfaction, which is drishta phala, or a seen result. That you are able to pray is an end in itself. And as a result of prayer, you will also have some relative contentment. This too is drishta phala. There will also be adrishta phala, an unseen result in the form of punya. Knowledge swallows the doer. Thus, there are two types of phala for prayer. One is the immediate result that you gain, and the other is the invisible result that is accrued to you. Any ritual implies a karta, a doer, as well as various materials, and is therefore an initiator of results, whereas Jnana Yajna is the swallower of all results. The pursuit of knowledge itself is the Yajna. Jnanam eva Yajnaha. So I will repeat this one. Knowledge swallows the doer. Thus, there are two types of phala for prayer. One is drishta phala, that is that immediate satisfaction, contentment that you feel. The other is adrishta phala, that accrues to you, the punya that accrues to you. Any ritual, therefore, implies a doer, a karta, as well as various materials. And it is therefore an initiator of results. Because any karma you do will have a result. When you look at the cause-effect relationship, cause-effect aspect. Whereas Jnana Yajna is the swallower of all results. So, what is Jnana Yajna giving us? It is converting that kartritva to akartritva. And with akartritva comes sublation, elimination of all the karma phalas. So, the pursuit of knowledge itself is the yajna. Jnanam eva yajnaha. Because Jnana Yajna swallows the karta, the doer, it does not further perpetuate the samsara. It swallows the samsara. Jnana yajna does not initiate any result. Na phala arambhakaha, because it devours the very doer. The moment you begin to ask what is jnana, what is atma, and so on, the karta is very much in question. As long as you're questioning with your inference and perception, however, the karta, the one who inquires, infers, and perceives, will remain. If, on the other hand, the karta is exposed to the teaching of Vedanta, the karta will be swallowed. Vedanta will tell the karta, you are a karta, but you think you are karta because you do not understand what Atma is. Doership is just a thought that comes and goes. When that thought is not there, like in sleep, where is the karta? Or between two thoughts, where is the karta? There is no karta. You are a karta only. You perform no action at any time. You are not the thought. You are the one behind every thought. The thought is you, no doubt, but you are free from the thought. When thought goes, you are, and when the thought is, you are. Like this, Vedanta teaches the karta that he or she is a karta, thereby knocking off the karta. It's very beautiful. So we'll just read this one more time. Because the jnana yajna swallows the karta, the doer, it does not further perpetuate the samsara. So samsara is born with karta bhav, right? The moment you have karta bhav, samsara is born. Whereas here, jnana yajna swallows the karta and therefore samsara. Jnana yajna does not initiate any result. Na phala arambakaha, because it devours the very doer. The moment you begin to ask what is jnana, what is atma, and so on, the karta is very much in question. That is why inquiry is required. It's not just enough if you're mature. Karma yoga implies just not the proper attitude, but also pursuing knowledge. As long as you're questioning with reference to with your inference and perception, however, the karta, the one who inquires, infers, and perceives, will remain. If, on the other hand, the karta is exposed to the teaching of Vedanta, the karta will be swallowed. Vedanta will tell the karta, you are a karta. But you think you are karta because you do not understand what Atma is. Doership is just a thought that comes and goes. When that thought is not there, like in sleep, where is the karta? Or between two thoughts, where is the karta? There is no karta. You are a karta only. You perform no action at any time. You are not the thought. You are the one behind every thought. The thought is you, no doubt, but you are free from the thought. When thought goes, you are, and when thought is, you are. Like this, Vedanta teaches the karta that he or she is a karta, thereby knocking off the karta. Knowledge is beyond the range of comparison. To say that this verse is comparing jnana yajna to the religious disciplines mentioned earlier is not appropriate. Jnana yajna destroys all karma. To say that something is better than something else implies that that something else is still there. Here, the karma that jnana yajna is supposedly being compared to is gone, destroyed by jnana yajna. How then can it be said that jnana yajna is better than karma? When a person says it is better to be married than to be single, or it is better to be single than to be married, there is something better involved. But here, It is not a matter of jnana yajna being better than karma, since absolute knowledge of oneself is beyond the range of comparison. It is not even the best. All comparisons are possible only when both things being compared are within the range of comparison. Knowledge and karma are two different orders of reality. Knowledge deals with the absolute, and karma is completely swallowed by that knowledge. Also, in terms of the results achieved, there is no possibility of comparison. The result achieved by karma is limited, and that achieved by knowledge is limitlessness itself. When I am limitless, where is the possibility of comparison? You can compare members of the same order of reality. You cannot compare an achievement belonging to one order of reality with the achievement belonging to another order of reality. Therefore, karma is one thing and jnana is quite another. Still, for want of a better expression, the word shreyan, superior, is used here. One of the beauties of this word is that even though it is a comparative expression, it indicates moksha. By one kind of yajna, that is jnana yajna, you get moksha, and by the other kind, that is dravya yajna, you do not. Dravya yajna can only give you a limited result that is other than yourself, either some external result or an internal result called antahkarana shuddhi. If you are a karma yogi, a mumukshu, you will gain antahkarana shuddhi, which is useful for gaining the knowledge. The various yajnas or religious disciplines you perform as a karma yogi help you to perform the jnana yajna, the inquiry into the shastra properly. Inquiry is the direct means for gaining samyak darshana, the clear vision, whereas the other yajnas simply help you in that inquiry. The destruction of karma is total. Jnana yajna is said to be Shreyan superior because knowledge destroys all karma, meaning that karma in its entirety resolves in knowledge. Sarvam karma akhilam jnane parisamapyate. Akhilam, with reference to karma, means that there is absolutely nothing left over after knowledge takes place. All karmas and everything connected with them are totally gone, without so much as a trace of anything left behind. Sarva is used here to indicate that all karma goes in the wake of knowledge. Sometimes, even when all is said, there is something left over. For example, when you say all the people at that beach are surfers or all the people living in Beverly Hills are rich, these statements are not really true. There are people in Beverly Hills who are not rich. The servants, for instance. There are also those who, while living in big houses, have enormous debts, their liabilities being much greater than their assets. Therefore, statements using the word all are not always totally true. This word is more often used to indicate a predominance rather than an entirety, wherein there is absolutely nothing left over. Recognizing that the relative meaning of sarva may exclude some things, Krishna uses the word akhila also in this verse. Since both of these words appear together, sarvam akhilam is used double. Both the words mean almost the same. There is no doubt whatsoever that what was meant here was karma in its entirety. And this karma resolves into knowledge. Jnane parisamapyate. And there is nothing more to be gained. When you gain this knowledge, everything belongs to you. There is nothing more to be gained. When you gain this knowledge, everything belongs to you. There is nothing more to be gained. Gurudev, in such small little measures, has given us the whole gist of Vedanta. The very first, the starting of our courses is I belong to you. That belongingness. When everything belongs to you, what is there for you to achieve? So there is a verse in the Chandogya Upanishad that is Yatha Kritaya Vijitaya Dhariyaha Samyantyevamenam Sarvam Tadabhi Sameti Yatkincha Prajaha Sadhu Kurvanti Yastadveda Yat Sa Veda Sa Mayaitadukta Iti. There is a verse in the Chandogya Upanishad that describes this totality by likening it to what happens in a game of dice. In the ancient times, during the game of dice, the four faces of the dice were called as follows: 1. Kali, 2. Dwapara, 3. Treta, and 4. Krita. And the Krita was considered to be the winner. That is, when one threw the dice and he got the one with the number 4, Krita, facing up, he was considered the winner. And when the number 4, Krita, wins, then in that winner, all the other lower ones are included. Similarly, when you gain this knowledge, you get the whole thing. Everything belongs to you. The idea here is that once you gain moksha, there is no way of anyone or anything getting the better of you. You win all the way. Karma phalas can give you only limited happiness, sukha, whereas knowledge gives you absolute happiness, paramananda. In the paramananda, all the little happinesses are included, which is why Krishna says that karma resolves in knowledge, jnane parisamapyate. Another way of looking at this resolution is to see that from the standpoint of the knowledge, Atma is not subject to karma. Knowing this, all the karmas, sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma, resolve into the knowledge. When I understand that I am not subject to karma, it means that I am free from the accumulated karma standing in my account, and I'm also free from new karmas because I am akarta. And I am not subject to prarabdha karma because I am abhokta. I am not an enjoyer. Prarabdha is only for the bhokta, the enjoyer. Prarabdha is only from the standpoint of the physical body, mind, and senses. There is seemingly some action going on at that level due to prarabdha, but that is a different thing altogether. It has no effect on the Atma whatsoever. How does one gain this knowledge? By saying that all religious disciplines, karmas, resolve into knowledge, Krishna once again praises the knowledge. Even though Arjuna knew what he had to do to gain the knowledge and had already done it by asking Krishna to teach him, in the next verse, Krishna confirms that Arjuna had done the right thing. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas. Another beautiful verse we'll see tomorrow. So we'll stop here. Anyone wants to share anything? So knowledge swallows everything. Knowledge swallows the doer, swallows the samsara. In its entirety, sarvam akhilam karma. Which is why Arjuna was so confused. On one side, Krishna is praising knowledge, and on the other side, he's saying, go and fight. So we'll stop here. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्मा निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म अत्र वेदान्तमेव प्रमाणम् बोधक सद्गुरु तत्त्वनिष्ठः ईश्वरानुगृहीतेन वेद्यम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ज्ञानगम्यं तुरीयं हृदिस्थम् आत्मरूपं हि तत् येन ज्ञातम् सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति सत्यम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मज्ञस्य तु ब्रह्मैव सर्वम् नास्ति मोहो भयं नैव दुःखम् तस्य स्वानन्दमग्नं हि चित्तम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मैव सत्यम्